One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his step, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he pays his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to freaking discuss this morning. Great to see everyone in the chat, by the way. Shout out to all you legends. We're going to be discussing, of course, Iran today. U.S. strikes on Iran accelerate, as well as war powers vote fails. We have all of that for you guys. Impossible ground invasion in Iran. I'm really hoping we don't do no ground invasion. I really, really hope we don't do that. That would be a very bad decision. Anyways, at least from my standpoint, from my worldview here. So we've got a lot to discuss, as I told you guys. It seems like this week has been on overtime the entire time, and it definitely has been. And today's going to be kind of one of those days as well. We have some lengthy segments that we're going to be viewing today, but we're first going to be talking about a U.S. torpedo sinks Iranian ship. Now, I think having a U.S. torpedo sink a ship hasn't happened since World War II. I think that's the accurate statement. Now, I may be mistaken on that. I'm doing this off of a memory here, obviously. But I thought that was very interesting, and it's a very quick segment, so we're going to be discussing that. That happened yesterday. And then Caroline Leavitt had the White House press briefing, like I told you guys. Go ahead and go watch it, blah, blah, blah. There was a heated argument between Caitlin and Caroline over reports of dead soldiers, and there has been updates on the amount of soldiers that have been unalived in this so far, but I'll get to that. So then breaking 17 hours ago, war powers vote fails in the Senate, and we have that for you guys. It's 48 yay and 52 nay, just so that's what the tally was. Then we have Pentagon identifies 5th U.S. soldier killed in Kuwait. So it wasn't just 4, it was actually 5. And then we have an update of like who are the Kurds? Understanding the Middle East as conflict continues. I think that would be helpful for everybody to actually understand what the Kurds are, or who they are, rather. Details on Trump-Netanyahu call ahead of Iran strikes. Now, that doesn't surprise me. That's kind of to be expected. And then we have U.S. submarine blasts Iranian warship in first torpedo sinking since World War II. I was right. I was actually right on that. I was going off the top of my head there, and I was right. Iran launches missiles with 1-ton warheads at Israeli airport. Holy shit, bro. Yeah, that's kind of insane. A lot of the smaller warheads are like 5 kilograms or whatever. They're not as big as that. Whatever. Now look at the amount that is. I mean, 1-ton warhead. That's a lot. And then we have Iran war. Hegseth heads to Central Command for war briefing, and then we have him at that war briefing, kind of. And then Hegseth speaks amid these strikes. So that's what our morning is looking like this morning. I very much appreciate all of you guys coming in and hanging out with us this morning. Let's first go ahead and do our call to action so we can get right into this. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It helps out the show immensely, and it's free to do so. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. And listen, this is what we do Monday through Friday, reporting world news, geopolitics, American news, American politics, breaking news, all of it. This is what we do. So I very much appreciate your guys' support, hitting that subscribe button. And then, of course, members only for Saturday morning. We have a great time, and we don't discuss any of this shit. We try to have a good time. Speaking of members, please consider becoming a member, starting only at $3.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody. But check it out. This is what allows us to have these, airwaves and as well as these lights on. So I very much appreciate you guys making sure that you guys become members and then stay members. Giving you guys all this news real time, you know what I mean? So I very much appreciate you guys. And then, of course, we got my Instagram right here. Go ahead and follow me at BallValveTV, or I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, the campaign trail. Man, this is a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. So make sure you guys follow me over there. We also have a Discord server for all of you legends as well. Make sure you guys go down below, and that's where all the invite shit is. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, by the way, we have these platforms scrolling around the screen, and of course, I'll read out loud anything that comes our way, if we can get anything. We've got our email up, and of course, I'll insert whatever you guys say, just like, a super chat. So, and I get to have 100% of the proceeds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pretty much get right into this. Sterling Will gifting out a membership to start it off for the morning, my man. Thank you very much for the gifted membership. Definitely goes a long way. Good morning to you, kind sir. And we got all you legends in here as well. We got Pablo in the building. We got Dylan Patterson. We got So Loud. We got Steve Easy, Naomi in the building. We got Jimmy Mack as well as Prez. Thank you all for being here this morning. I very much appreciate you guys. We got Dean as well as brother KP. Good morning to you, gentlemen. And we got Cameron as well. Shout out to my man. We got Rabbit of Chaos as well. Good morning and great to see you. We got Gary as well as Steve Posey. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this morning. We got a lot to discuss, obviously, as you guys can see. We got Joseph up there in Canada, our favorite snow Mexican, by the way. Great to see you. We got Jimmy Mack saying, that's correct, Mike. Well, thank you for that. We got Pops in the building as well. Great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you and Mountain Woman are doing great. We've got Huggy as well. And Josh Phillips over there on the Facebook side of things saying, Mike for president. Nah, man, that's definitely not my, I don't have ambitions to be a president. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. We got Sterling Will as well. Good morning. And thank you for the gifted membership earlier. Let's see here. We're scrolling down. We got Charlie Rose. Great to see you in the building as well. Good morning. We got Dean saying, facts, bro, facts. All right, we're going to get right into this, ladies and gentlemen. So much to get through. Here we go.
I also wanted to share this as we continue to await Secretary Noem's reappearance inside this hearing. This is from the DOW Rapid Response. Secretary Hegseth saying, in the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian
What's up, Miss Lotus? Good morning.
Warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead,
homie thought he was safe. Shit, think again.
It was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death, the first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we were fighting to win. And we do actually have some new video provided to us of this that I'm going to be pulling up right now. I'm taking a look and we're bringing it in right now. Take a look at this. This is some of that video.
What's up, Carney? Good morning.
That I wanted to share with you right here. This is unclassified video shared by the U.S. military as Secretary Hegseth says,
that's the
in
torpedo
the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was
That was actually insane.
Ocean, an American
Hold on, let me bring it back a little bit. There we go.
As Secretary Hegseth says, in the Indian
right in the bow, too.
Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death, the first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
Yeah, that's definite interesting that a torpedo hasn't been like, well, hasn't struck and hit a ship and sunk anybody since World War II. I think that's kind of interesting. We're going to move on, though. Remember, I was telling you guys about the White House press briefing that was going to happen after the show yesterday, because obviously we get off, and then an hour later they were doing the White House press briefing. Well, Caroline Leavitt got into it with Caitlin over reports of dead soldiers. Let's go ahead and bring that up, and we'll go ahead and discuss it briefly. We're not going to play the whole press briefing. We're just going to show this exchange.
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country.
What's up, Tiffany? Good morning.
Should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Secretary Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the Secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the Secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not... We've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more...
Drones get through or tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
As you know, we
the
cover
press
the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you.
He goes, that's a fact.
Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that. You also had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, who's a brave patriot, standing alongside the secretary at the Pentagon this morning, again expressing his condolences to these families. And I just told you that the President of the United States will be attending their dignified transfer. So please,
that's not making the president look bad. That's showcasing that.
And we expect you to cover that as you should. We expect you to cover that as you should, Caitlin. But you and your network know that you take every single thing this administration says and tries to use it to make the president look bad. That is an objectable fact.
I don't think covering troop deaths is trying to make
if you're trying to argue right now that CNN's overwhelming coverage is not negative of President Donald Trump, I think the American people would tend to agree, and your ratings would tend to disagree with that as well.
Oh, shit.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. On the school strike, back to that for a minute. I understand that the U.S. does not target civilian infrastructure. That's
I don't know if there's anything more after this, but we'll see.
what you said.
It's only got like 20 seconds left.
Can you say that there's any evidence right now that it was not a U.S. strike? And then also, you didn't mention Israel in that. Is there any assessment about Israel's potential, likely, role in that, if at all?
Again, the Department of War is currently investigating this matter, but again, I will reaffirm that the Department of War and the United States Armed Forces do not target civilians, as does the Iranian regime, who kill and execute their own people. Christian.
All right, so let's go and move on. We've got so this was breaking yesterday after the show, obviously. Otherwise, we would have reported it yesterday. But war powers vote fails in Senate. Let's go ahead and bring that up briefly here. And also, we got to get the money part over. We haven't done the money part yet. We got to do that. Let's go ahead and do that now.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
That's actual factuals, though.
Denied.
But I still love you guys. All right, here we go.
All right, as you see there, very fiery debate that's ongoing right now on the House floor. This happening on a very busy day on Capitol Hill, as we're hearing not only there in the House chamber, but from senators as well leading up to their vote. But again, it is official now that that procedural vote that was held there in the Senate has now officially failed on the War Powers resolution. I do want to put this live vantage point before we slide away for our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour. The vantage point there of the Senate floor, ultimately, this did fail. It is important to note this as well. Putting this up on your screen.
Wow.
The image there of Democratic lawmaker Senator John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania. He was the lone voter at the time, Democratic lawmaker.
So it says the U.S. Senate did not pass a bill that could limit the war powers of President Trump in Iran since the beginning of Operation Epic Fury.
To vote in the yeah column there on the war powers resolution. Wanted to make sure we're able to give you all of these updates here on Live Now from Fox. We are going to take this opportunity to slide away for our final 2-minute commercial break. Much more on all of these top stories when we return.
Not us.
On the Capitol, both on the House side and Senate side. Hi, everyone. Mike Pace here. Thanks so much again for joining us, continuing to be with you on the very latest with the strikes in Iran. The Middle East conflict continues. Just moments ago on the Senate side, we...
What's up, Brother Hardwire? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
Saw debate early in the afternoon on the Iran war powers resolution. The Senate vote just failed there as the Senate just shot down the Democrat-pushed war powers resolution that would have reined in President Trump's Iran strikes. We did have 2 Republicans that voted against the party there. Senator...
That's really interesting. I wonder what 2 Republicans did that.
Rand Paul and Senator...
Of course, Rand Paul. Motherfucker.
Lisa Murkowski as well. Now what we want to do is take you out to the House side. There is not expected to be a vote on this side until tomorrow, but the debate is happening right now. Let's listen it.
Through our armor. One day, on a trip to Sadr City, I watched a massive what's called an MRAP, armored personnel carrier, explode in front of me from an Iranian bomb, and watched as that hulking metal burned to a crisp as American servicemen and women sought to deal with the aftermath. This terrorist regime has killed thousands of their countrymen, killed Americans across the Middle East, and it's time for them to come to an end. This is a partisan political maneuver.
Well, there's a lot of bullshit propaganda happening, but whatever. Nonetheless, the vote was 47 yes or yays and then 53 nays, by the way. So that's the official vote. That's really all I cared about, by the way. That's all I wanted to get to you guys, is give you guys the facts of what's happening, not necessarily any type of speculation or propaganda or any of that shit. I try my best to just give you guys facts. So speaking of facts, Pentagon identifies 5th U.S. soldier killed in Kuwait. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Yesterday, we were reporting that it was 4, and we showed those 4 service men and women. And now there is a 5th.
The ongoing 5-day war, the conflict in Iran following Operation Epic Fury. We do know that 6 U.S. service members tragically losing their lives. We have learned the identity of 4 of them. We have rounded it out with 2 other identities coming down as the next of kin. They have already been notified. I want to put them up here from the Associated Press, saying the Pentagon has identified the 5th soldier killed in the...
Actually, it's 6, Jimmy Mack saying, and they have identified 5 so far. Is that what it is?
Iran war. Major Jeffrey R. O'Brien of Indianola, Iowa, died there on March.
Oh, man, Cameron, I very much appreciate that. That's one of the biggest compliments I can get, man. So, listen, I hope that your recovery's going well. I had no idea that you were going through that, so, but nothing but love and respect, bro.
First in this port of Kuwait during an unmanned aircraft system attack. The 6th soldier also named. The Pentagon has ID'd them as the Robert M. Marzin of Sacramento, California, on the scene of this in Kuwait, believed to be the individual who perished at the scene. So obviously the tragic nature of this, and President Trump and others saying there may be even more.
So it's weird. It's weird how they actually said it right there. Look. Pentagon has ID'd the 6th soldier killed in Iran war, and it's so weird how it says up here, look, the title says right here, Pentagon identifies 5th U.S. soldier. So they must have fucked that up or some shit. I'm assuming. says Pentagon identifies last 2 of 6 soldiers killed in Kuwait.
Of this, and President Trump and others saying there may be even more. You can see this from Washington Examiner. White House correspondent Christian Daytalk says President Trump will attend the dignified transfer of those 4 American service members killed in Iran's retaliatory attacks. Timing not yet been finalized by the Pentagon, and he noted the 4 there, but we've learned the 2 identities, making that total out to 6. So potentially we will be in attendance for the dignified transfer of all of those individuals coming back following this unfortunate.
Yeah, so of course we're going to be following all of these stories as they unfold. Real quick, there's a segment that they made 12 hours ago, so like 10 o'clock at night for me yesterday. And they came out with this segment saying, "Who are the Kurds?" And I thought, man, that's actually a good thing. I would like for my audience, everyone here, to be able to understand who the Kurds actually are. So let's go ahead and bring up, it seems like it's going to be kind of a little bit of a history thing, but not really. Like, it's just kind of like who they are. But
I am Andy Mack. We heard from President Trump earlier on today saying he spoke with different allies in the Middle East about the ongoing impacts, the conflict there in Iran. We're learning new information about the Kurds, the Iraqi Kurds, the dissident group based in northern Iraq, preparing for a potential cross-border.
What's up, brother Wildcard? Good morning to you.
Military operation into Iran. And there's a little bit of a fluid situation on exactly what's happening right now on the ground. From the New York Post saying Iraqi Kurds, they have launched a ground offensive against Iranian regime. Reports.
I'm going to be honest, bro. The Kurds are fucking badass.
Including from Fox News' own Jennifer Griffin. And she did clarify on social media, saying she is told that these Iranian Kurds who fled in the past have been living in Iraq. They have returned with the hopes of starting an uprising so that the people of Iran feel comfortable rising up against the remnants of the regime. U.S. officials confirmed to Fox News that thousands of Kurds have launched a ground offensive in Iran. They are crossing in from Iraq. There are conflicting reports tonight. We'll have more when we know. So let's get into this here on Live Now from Fox, exactly who the Kurds are and what's unfolding on the ground. Rejoined right now by Vice President.
And now we're not going to listen to a lot of this. I just would like a nice little consolidated of who the Kurds are for you guys.
A policy for Ginza, Blaise Mistal. Blaise, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox and talking about the Kurds on the ground.
You know, Steve Easy, maybe I should do like specific, you know, because every time that we've talked about specific people in the news, I've, you know, shown regions and maps and stuff like that. But what if I do like a special, you know, episode of all of the regions in the Middle East and explain basically who and all they are? You know, I think that would be a good idea too.
And who
Thank you
are
for that.
they and how big of a development could this be?
Yeah, good evening, Andy. It's good to be with you. This is really a potentially pivotal moment in this campaign now in its 5th day against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Kurds are the world's largest stateless group. They're an ethnic group. There's somewhere between 30 and 40 million of them. The majority of them live spread between 4 countries: Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. Of that 30 to 40 million, there's maybe about 8 or 10 million that live inside of Iran, predominantly in.
I actually didn't know there was that many Kurds in Iran. I didn't actually know that part, so that's interesting.
About 8 or 10 million that live inside of Iran, predominantly.
What's up, Papa Penguin? My man, good morning.
In western Iran, in the regions bordering northern Iraq. And they're a group that has long been denied not just a state being ruled by others, but is often oppressed, deprived the right to have their identity, to use their own language in schools or in teaching their kids. And so it's often a group that has tried to fight in various ways to get at least rights, if not independence. And that has worked better in some cases, worse in others. And the tactics they use are sometimes problematic. In Turkey, there's the PKK, which is a U.S. designated terrorist group, which for 40 years waged an insurgency against the Turkish state. They have now laid down their arms, and that might be resolved. In Iraq, they've actually been a great partner to the United States ever since the 2003 invasion. The Kurdistan region of Iraq has been the most stable, the most safe, the most secure part of Iraq. They've worked closely closely with the U.S. military. There's still a big U.S. military presence in that region. They've developed oil resources, and that's
so. I mean, they really are pretty self-sufficient over there in the aspect for the Kurds.
Really the success story of Iraq right there in northern Kurdistan. And of course, in Syria, the Kurds were a big part of the success in defeating ISIS.
Now, I did know that part.
Both in Iraq and in Syria, it was Syrian Kurdish forces partnered with the U.S. That went in and overthrew the Islamic State Caliphate. And so they've worked closely with the U.S. in the past. They have a track record of being able not only to fight, but to establish governance, be stable, be safe, be secure. And so it makes sense, as the United States is weakening the Iranian regime, that these might be partners on the ground who are armed, who are capable, who have been trained, and might now go in and be the boots on the ground.
Interesting.
The partner force for the United States and for Israel to go after what is left of the Islamic regime. There are, of course, serious risks here, and it is a move that has to be thought through carefully. But if President Trump is saying that, the Iranians' destiny is their own to seize, this is really a group that could go out and take Iranian destiny into their own hands.
And we talk about...
All right, so we don't need to go any further. I just wanted to get that little explanation out, and then we're now going to get into details on Trump-Netanyahu call ahead of Iran strikes. Now, that is not surprising to me whatsoever. I'm not even sure really what kind of details they're getting out of this, but it's got to be quote-unquote newsworthy, so let's figure it out together.
Austin, Westfall tonight, new reporting from Axios.
Fix your fucking audio over there, dude.
Pulling back the curtain on a private Trump-Netanyahu call that helped set the Iran war in motion. On February 23rd, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called President Trump with intel, saying that soon Iran's supreme leader and his top advisors were all set.
Wow, that's crazy, Dr. Phil.
To meet at one location. Trump was already leaning towards striking Iran, but he had not decided when until Netanyahu called. Mark Caputo and Barak Ravid had the scoop for Axios. Mark is here with us. Mark, we didn't know about this call until you reported it. What did the administration do after they got the tip?
Step number one for Donald Trump was to check it out or ask the CIA to do that. That was Monday, Tuesday. On Tuesday morning, the team around Trump had made the decision not to talk about this and not to talk about Iran in any great detail in the State of the Union speech. They wanted to lull the Ayatollah, his leaders, into a false sense of security that the attack wasn't imminent. And around Wednesday, Thursday is when the report came back from the CIA that, yes, these guys are going to meet in Tehran on Saturday morning. And Trump said, okay, let's go ahead. On Friday, it was really decision day. Around, I think it was 3:38 p.m., Donald Trump gave the final approval to basically push the figurative button to give it a go-ahead. And then early Saturday, the attack happened, and the rest is history.
Real quick, as he pauses there, listen, you guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world or here, whatever, but you guys can hit that like button for me and what we do here. Double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate your laborious work.
At what point did the administration decide negotiations with Iran were not going anywhere? Was the diplomatic route still on the table even when Trump and Netanyahu knew that the Ayatollah was in reach?
I think it was less likely. That having been said, I asked the specific question of the White House and said, what if for some reason, some possible...
Yo, Steve Posey is re-upping his membership, my man. So very much appreciate it. I don't know why it shows like brand new, but I very much appreciate that, kind sir. Thank you for that and making it rain in the chat this morning. Yes, sir.
The Ayatollah on Friday had come in and said, wait. I'll sign any agreement you want. I'll do anything you want. I'll get it done. And the answer that was told to me is the Ayatollah never would have done that, so we're not going to answer that hypothetical. So it suggests to me that by the time Donald Trump, and probably around Thursday, had decided to go forward, that was essentially putting the unstoppable object in motion that sort of really began on Saturday morning, early Saturday.
Right. You report that Jared Kushner and...
So really, that was it. I don't know why they go and try to milk a situation for 10 more minutes afterwards, but that's literally all it was right there. Big whoop. We already assumed all of that. Anyways, so 11 hours ago, U.S. submarine, this is the actual main story now, not breaking because we already gave the breaking news of the torpedo, but some context. U.S. submarine blasts Iranian warship in first torpedo sinking since World War II. And I'm assuming they're going to bring on somebody like a war specialist, whatever, to discuss that. I'm sure. I'm assuming.
Operation Epic Fury, and they're laying the groundwork, saying they are just getting started. The United States military, they are close to air superiority in terms of what's going on over Iran. And we also know that coming up here in
yes, exactly, Steve Easy. And that's I not only heard that from Rubio, but I heard that from Tucker Carlson as well about Rubio. So it's like, yeah.
Next several days that
it proves a point. Like, hey, I'm going to do this whether you're with us or not. And so, yeah, kind of proves the whose war it is.
Pete Hegseth will be traveling down to Florida to meet with CENTCOM officials. You can see this, a post from Mike Emanuel saying the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, will visit the U.S.
Oh, that sucks, Steve Posey. But thank you for re-upping the membership, bro. I very much appreciate that.
Central Command headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. During the visit, Secretary Hegseth will meet with the Admiral Brad Cooper, this CENTCOM commander, for updates on Operation Epic Fury. And
real quick, we got Brother Hardwire coming in for a membership of 19 months to IWF, or N for network. I must, goodbye, nah, just kidding. Can't get rid of me that easy. Shit. Oh, man. I very much appreciate the 19 months, brother. That is fucking awesome. I hope that it's been a good 19 months of being here with me.
There are major updates to come because, as we saw earlier on over the last 5 days, Iran has unleashed hundreds of drone strikes this weekend at Arab Gulf states, damaging U.S. bases, critical infrastructure, presenting a serious challenge to the Middle East air defense system. The Hegseth Defense Secretary acknowledged Wednesday that some Iranian air attacks may still hit their targets, even as he asserted the U.S. air military support is quickly giving control of the Islamic Republic's airspace. Let's continue on here.
Yo, I got to agree with this sentiment 100%. Steve, absolutely. And I got a soundbite for you.
Why are you gay?
Yes, sir. Not for you, but for, Israel and Iran. Yeah. Absolutely.
We're on Live Now from Fox, dissecting what exactly that means. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox by Tom Carrico, the director of the Missile Defense Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good to be back.
All right, so let's get into that because we talk about it, some of the percentages they laid the groundwork for it, but what makes it so difficult to intercept these Shahed drones? Why are they so critical to this conflict?
Well, that's a very good question, actually, by Andy.
Yeah, well, it probably does sound a little counterintuitive that the really fast, longer range ballistic missiles have been shot down at a pretty high percentage, right, on a lot of them, relative to these really low and slow flying, basically very small aircraft. And the reason it really comes down to a couple things. It's just harder to find them and to see them, for one thing. Because they're flying lower, they're going to be cresting the horizon much later relative to the target. And so they can kind of sneak up on you if you don't have some kind of early warning before they get to you. The other thing is they are maneuverable. Right, and so whereas a ballistic missile is going to have a highly predictable trajectory, and because it's a lofted shot, you're going to have a little bit longer time to get it, in addition to seeing it much sooner. Whereas because it's maneuverable, it's less predictable, and that means that your defenses have to be basically next to whatever it is that you're defending. You can't reach out and kill the threat from far away. And that means fundamentally that you're not going to be able to have defenses everywhere. You're going to have to pick and choose what you defend. And that frankly is one of the reasons why we've had these successful attacks by the Shaheds, is we just don't have, it's not possible to have defenses everywhere all the time.
And
well, of course.
These ballistic missiles, they are the kind of the fastballs of the sky.
Well, you got to remember, as you guys know, if you guys follow me like this, you would already know that I've said this, but Iran has the #1 ballistic missile program in the world, and hypersonics and all of that. And that's why you see over Israeli skies and stuff like that, the dragon tail is what they call it. Because when you have a missile that a normal missile that launches, it goes up, and then it's got a trajectory to go down. Well, that's very predictable for radar systems to like set up and like be able to track all of that and then be able to intercept it. Well, these new ballistic missiles at the very end, they don't go on the normal flight pattern. They kind of start zigzagging all over the fucking place, and sometimes they get shot down, but they get past a lot of the radar systems and the air defense systems. The Iron Dome, for instance. That's why over Israeli skies you'll see that dragon tail, you know.
The changeup is these Shahed drone missiles. We're talking slow and low, as you mentioned, but how low, how slow are we talking?
Yeah, I mean, look, it could be a couple hundred feet before it comes to dive in. There's utility to flying a little bit higher because the air is thinner and you can extend your range. But if you want to fly low, that gives you the benefit of hugging the terrain. What that means is that you can hide, right? You can use buildings, you can use the terrain, you can use the horizon itself, and you're just not going to be seen as soon. And that by buying time, you buy surprise.
Yeah, and obviously surprise is very key when we're talking about warfare. And during that press conference earlier on today, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and General Kane, they're laying out some of these percentages. I want to read them off to you because they said Iran's theater ballistic missiles shots fired are down 86 from the first day of fighting, with a 23% decrease in the last 24 hours. They're one way.
Yeah, but who's actually getting those numbers of their stockpile of fucking missiles? I kind of take all those numbers with a grain of salt, bro. You know, I'm just going to be honest. Now, let's see if we have any other updates here. It looks like there is a tweet here, or a post, I should say, from the Washington Post. The U.S. campaign in Iran has already expended thousands of high-cost air defense missiles and other sophisticated munitions just days into the conflict. Well, yeah, I believe that. I totally do believe that. Let's go ahead and see if there's any other posts so we don't... Oh, and now they're ended up now finally talking about the whole torpedo
of the drones. Another component I do want to talk about is an interesting one, talking about...
Oh, shit, right before we do, though. Naomi coming in with the 13 months. Let's fucking go. She says, hit that like, and Mike loves IWF, or yes, all the hearts and stuff. Yes. Very much appreciate that, Naomi. Hopefully it's been a good 13 months for you as well. We've definitely enjoyed having you. And as well, thank you for moderating as always.
U.S. submarine taking down several ships of the Iranian Navy. And I want to talk about this as we're getting some videos. Defense Secretary Hegseth said the U.S. was behind overnight of a sinking of an Iranian Navy ship in the Indian Ocean.
Look at that shit. I'll back it up. I had a comment that was blocking it. Here we go.
Behind overnight of a sinking of an Iranian Navy ship in the Indian Ocean. He said the ship, which was hit by a U.S. submarine, the first to be down by...
And they said they thought they were in proper international waters or something like that. They thought they were in like a safe zone.
A torpedo since World War II, and that is just fascinating to talk about.
My man, Virginia Chaos, good morning.
Obviously, the depletion, the decimation of the Iranian Navy. What do we make of that, and how are the United States using submarines as an asset in this conflict?
Yeah, so that is a video that should be played and replayed over and over again. People talk about the cost curve of the cost of interceptors versus the cost of the missile being targeted. Let's talk about the cost curve of that torpedo relative to that Iranian ship. So look, one of the principal military objectives of the conflict of the...
Well, yeah, I'm sure that particular little thing right there, the expenditure of that torpedo compared to what they took down. I mean, yeah, this is one of those cases that, yes, you use something pretty cheap to destroy something very, very expensive. That's what he's going to say. But that's this one thing. It's not the rest of everything else.
The States, it was articulated, and it is a very good one, is the absolute destruction of the Iranian Navy, in addition to their missile and nuclear programs. And that's all for the good. The interesting thing is this ship wasn't close by. It was way over there. And the fact that it's coming from a torpedo also, that means...
Yo, real quick, I can't tell if this is... Because I don't want to dox my brother, you know what I mean? Like, I try not to do that for people. So usually when people put out like Cash Apps or whatever, they'll tell me their screen name or whatever. But I'll say the first name. Terrell coming in with the $5 saying puff, puff, pass. Absolutely. We're going to get down with our bad selves right now. Thank you for making it rain in the Cash App, my man. Let's go. All right, we're good. And pass. Here we go. Shit.
It's coming from a submarine that has a completely different angle. And this is the other twist
Tyrell.
here.
So thank you, and I know who it is now.
Is that
I just
that
can't
video should
pronounce
be played
shit.
over and over again for the audience in China. Undersea warfare is something that the United States has a particular asymmetric advantage in, and we want to make sure and be communicating over and over again that we own the undersea domain, and it would be very bad for the Chinese Navy to get some good ideas, especially in the context of us being tied up in the Middle East at the moment, that the undersea capabilities are something the United States has that they should be, that should frankly help deter them from their adventurism.
Yeah, potentially around Taiwan. Obviously not hard to...
All right, so now we don't need to go any further in this conversation. We already know all of this. We got still quite a few things to get into here. So we have Iran launches missile with 1-ton warheads at Israeli airport. Now, 1 ton is it's actually pretty fucking big. You know what I mean? A 1-ton warhead is normal warhead, a small like Hamas level warheads that they were using. They have like five kilogram warheads or whatever the case is. This is a 1-ton warheads they're talking about here.
Look right here at these live images that we have over Beirut in Lebanon, as we know that Israel is
What's up, Scramble North? Great to see you back in the chat, my man. Good morning.
once again targeting Hezbollah, the terror group in that location. Now, they do say they continue to simultaneously launch those strikes with the U.S. on Iran, but also in Beirut as they target Hezbollah. Important to note that we have seen Hezbollah firing rockets alongside Iran. Of course, Hezbollah is Iran-backed, so keep that in mind as all of this is progressing. Now, we can see some damage left behind, but you are still seeing just a little bit of smoke that's rising. Several hours ago, that image looked a lot different, as it looks like those strikes for now have come to a bit of a lull, but they...
There you go. Warland right there is throwing some facts right there.
...are expected to pick back up in the coming hours or so. Now, as we get to the latest on the situation developing there in the Middle East, we do have a look right here at some of this video I showed you a bit earlier coming in from the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, as they say they carried out a wave of strikes that started overnight targeting the sites in Tehran that are crucial to Iran's ballistic missile deployment and storage. The Israeli Defense Forces saying that they struck...
This right here, they're about to shoot down an Iranian fighter jet right here.
Iranian operations who are preparing a missile launcher to be used against the Israeli aircraft in the area, preventing a launch overall.
Boom.
Now, Iran's Revolutionary Guard saying that it fired missiles at Israel with a 1-ton warhead. The IRGC claiming attacks as well in Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE. Of course, we're getting a lot of that video coming into our newsroom, so we will continue to bring that to you as we get it. Again, that is just some of the video coming in from the IDF this morning. Right now, I want to bring in a great friend of the show. We have had him on a lot recently. This is Javed Ali, Associate Professor of Practice there at the University of Michigan's Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy. Now, he's worked with the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI. As always, Javed, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Josh, always nice to be with you. Thank you.
And of course, we're looking at some of the video there coming in live out of Beirut, but you saw what's been released by the IDF. And I wanted to get your take on the IRGC claiming now that they have fired these missiles that have 1-ton warheads. Explain to me what we're talking about there with the potential for damage.
I think people don't even understand how big of a warhead that is. It's fucking big.
So, Josh, as we're now into day 6 of the fighting, it appears that Iran, through the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, still...
Oh, man. Let her know that we all love her, Pops. Appreciate that.
...has either ballistic missiles or weapons that they haven't yet used against all the countries they've attacked so far. And the claim about having what I would assume is a ballistic missile with a 1-ton warhead, that suggests that in that warhead, it had a 2,000-pound explosive payload. And so we don't know whether that missile actually worked, in the sense of, did the missile get through all the Israeli missile defense systems? And if it did, when it made impact, did that 1-ton warhead actually detonate against the target it was aiming at? So we don't yet know. And if it did, that would have caused a significant amount of destruction, unless it just kind of veered off target and hit an empty field or something like that. But if it actually landed against a target, a building, a structure, it would have caused a significant amount of damage.
Yeah, to say the least.
And I'm popping this up on your screen. This is some of the video that was released by the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, we already saw that. See if there's any other footage that comes out. Oh, no, that's the shooting down of the jet, all of that. Getting down their air defense. Looks like another, we saw this one too.
And they'll probably have to pull back, but by pulling back,
Boom.
that leaves open the remaining capability to...
I hadn't seen that one yet.
To getting targeted and struck by Israel and the United States as well. So these are all difficult choices facing Iran at the moment.
What key indicators are you kind of watching for as this does continue to progress in the coming hours and days?
So both sides have dug in.
What's up? We got my man Liquored Up with Poncho, my man. Good morning. And also, big shout out to Big Al coming in hot. Alfred, Big Al coming in saying, stop the cat for $5. Thank you very much for making it rain in the Cash App. And I do got the sound effect for you.
Stop the cap.
Shit. Good morning, kind sir.
For a fight, but at the same time, President Trump has suggested that he's not really keen on having dialogue with some element of the regime as it exists right now. But does that mean there aren't attempts for some kind of back channel diplomacy from one side to the other? Probably more on the Iranian side, because there so much significant pressure. So I think we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Also, wait to see the news on if Mujtaba Khamenei is selected as the new supreme leader or somebody else, because that will also signal that the regime for now is still intact. And then
what kind of whiskey, though, Steve Easy? It matters.
And continue to watch for perhaps more U.S. resources flowing into the region, either to help on the offensive air campaign or on the defensive side of helping all these countries and Israel knock down Iranian missiles and drones and other weapons that are being fired.
Hell yeah, Steve.
Javad Ali there.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on into now Hegseth. It says, we've got a video here, not that it even matters, but we'll play this part because it's quick. This is Hegseth heads to Central Command for war briefing, and this came out 3 hours ago. And then we actually have the, Hegseth speaking amid these Iran strikes. So I'm not really sure what we're going to see here other than fucking Hegseth walk into a vehicle or something.
Right now you are looking at video from just a short time ago as Secretary Pete Hegseth left Joint Base Andrews en route over to Florida. Now, he's headed to MacDill Air Force Base as this is about...
Thank you for that, Dr. Phil. I very much appreciate that.
24 hours after his latest update on Operation Epic Fury alongside General Dan Raisin Kane. Now, Matthew McClellan with our Fox 13 Tampa team joining us live outside of the Air Force Base with a look at the situation there.
Oh, man. That fucking sucks, Steve Easy. Yeah. I totally understand why you would definitely want to be, right now, having a little sippy sip,
What to expect and where else he's headed. Good morning, Matthew. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, good morning, Josh. So this MacDill Air Force Base visit from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, part of a big Florida swing. He's going to start in South Florida, we know, before heading to Tampa. As fighting overseas continues, you're seeing a lot of the traffic coming in. These are folks who work on base here.
I don't care about this, dude, and what you're talking about. We're moving on. Fuck that nonsense. We got the shit right here. Here we go. Hold on. Jesus.
Well, General Donovan and I are pleased to welcome all of you to Southern Command this morning. I'm honored to be the first Secretary of War to lead a hemispheric defense conference like this in more than 30 years. This conference is about you. This conference is about us. This conference is not called the America's Counter-Cartel Conference. It's the America's Counter-Cartel Conference. This is about what we together can do. You know, it's been more than 200 years since our nation struggled for independence from foreign rule. The War of 1812 was about the United States defending its independence and protecting its territory. A 47-year-old Carolinian who was a major general in the Army, as was mentioned, Andrew Jackson, defeated a British army almost double the size. Addressing his troops after victory at the Battle of New Orleans, Jackson declared, "Natives of different states acting together for the first time have reaped the fruits of an honorable union." His success galvanized a young country. In 1816, our country elected a Revolutionary War hero as president. James Monroe fought in the Continental Army. Leading a charge against German mercenaries fighting for the British, the enemy fired a musket ball at him. It severed his artery and he almost died. But the young captain rallied and grew to be governor of Virginia, Secretary of War, and one of our greatest presidents. In 1823, President Monroe said that the United States owed the success of that young country to the candor and amicable relations with other powers to affirm our national policy. President Monroe declared we should consider any attempt on malign countries to extend their system to any portion of this hemisphere as dangerous to our peace and safety. It was the Monroe Doctrine of 1823. And today, some 200 years later, we still...
Relax. I have him sped up. He's on 1.25 times playback speed. I don't like to sit around and listen to people all fucking day like other people do. I like to get it done.
Marvel at the wisdom of President Monroe's declaration. We, like you, want borders and sovereign territories that are secure. We want unfettered access to key terrain and trade so that our nations can industrialize. And we want to prevent external powers from threatening our peace and independence in our shared neighborhood. This is the essence of the Monroe Doctrine. No external power will interfere in this hemisphere. Ours should be a region of strong, sovereign nations. It's the same principle that animates President Trump's defense approach today. President Trump and his Department of War are ushering in a new era of homeland and hemispheric defense, rooted in the unique heritage of our nation and your nations. Under President Trump, we restored the Department of War. You see, the Department of War was established by General George Washington and served our nation from its founding through our hard-fought victory in World War II. Many of your countries also once had ministries of war. Under President Trump, our nation has a newfound resolve that our founders would recognize, as Stephen alluded to and spoke to. They would recognize it, and they would appreciate it. We are at long last putting America, Americans, and the Americas first.
Stop the cap.
Bruh.
Ensuring peace through strength and restoring common sense. At our department, we're doing it by restoring the warrior ethos, rebuilding our military to historic levels, and reestablishing deterrence in this hemisphere and around the world. For too long, leaders in Washington and their foreign policy functionaries abandoned the simple wisdom.
What's up, EOD? Good morning to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your thirsty Thursday morning so far. Definitely know that we are over
the Monroe
here.
Doctrine. They were consumed with the United States only going abroad. They ignored the warnings of President John Quincy Adams, who said that if our nation went overseas only in search of monsters to...
By the way, we have 168 people in here. Make sure you guys double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side and hit that like button if you're on the horizontal. Thank you, guys.
Destroy, that we would cease to be the ruler of our own spirit and our own backyard. Under previous leaders, we grew obsessed with every other theater and every other border in the world except our own. These elites reduced our power and presence in this hemisphere, opting for a benign neglect that was anything but benign. In your countries, many leaders accepted the status quo to coexist with narco-terrorism, or for a law enforcement alone approach that failed to deter and dismantle threats. Same happened in our country under the previous administration. And the result of this collective neglect was fatal. More than 1 million Americans were killed by fentanyl, cocaine, and other drugs.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Numbers greater than any casualties we've sustained in war. Millions of illegal aliens invaded our borders and destabilized nations across the hemisphere. Under Joe Biden's administration, the human smuggling industry exploded by more than 2,000%, from a $500 million so-called industry in 2018 to $13 billion by 2022. Cartels of terrorists across our hemisphere, enabled by adversaries, created and profited from chaos. What creates chaos? No leadership creates chaos. In our nation, narco-terrorist groups like Tren de Aragua prospered. They raped, they poisoned, they murdered innocent Americans. They terrorized our cities, our towns, and our neighborhoods like they do yours. Across this region, these gangsters control and terrorize large swaths of your territories, kill thousands of your people, and promote chaos that makes normal life sometimes almost impossible. Crime has spiked massively.
Yo, come on, Hegseth, please.
A few moments later.
Our hemisphere has 1/8 of the population, yet 1/3 of the violent crime. There's a reason for that. America's retreat from protecting its citizens and the complacency of many neighbors in this hemisphere was a great betrayal. That's what it was, a great betrayal against our people and our nations. Well, President Trump recognizes the wisdom of the Monroe Doctrine, and the days of us betraying and endangering our own citizens are finished. President Trump has reestablished the Monroe Doctrine, the Trump corollary of the Monroe Doctrine, or if you'd like, for short, you can just call it the Donroe Doctrine. Under President Trump, securing America.
This motherfucker said Donroe Doctrine. Come on, man.
Bruh. America's interest in the Western Hemisphere and keeping our homeland safe are our top national security priorities. The President's historic national defense strategy ensures that the Department of War will prioritize resources around the threats and objectives that are core to homeland defense and the people and prosperity of the American people. And to start, the Department of War is once again defending our borders as a priority of our national defense. With our law enforcement partners, we are defending our borders and making our streets safe again. Crossings at our southern border, at the U.S.-Mexico border, have dropped to the lowest number in history. Murders nationwide have plummeted by more than 20%. We now have operational control of our southern border. 0 people are crossing our southern border. We will not rest until we have complete operational control of every inch of all of our borders. So it starts with us. We're addressing it, but we're not stopping there.
Okay, this is great and all, but can we, like, get on to Iran and shit?
Under President Trump, for the first time in history, the Department of War is on the offense against narco-terrorists as well. I should back up a step, though. In order to get 100% operational control of our border, we didn't just
I don't know what that sound was on their side. I have no idea what the fuck that was.
At Border Patrol and say, that's your job. It's a law enforcement function. We deployed the United States military. Right now, the Division Command of the 101st Airborne is in operational control of the southern border. We ensured that the most capable assets we had in our country were deployed to our own border to defend that border against the narco-terrorists and drug dealers seeking to enter our country, not treating it simply as a law enforcement function, working with our partners, but recognizing it's a core military function. But going on offense with Operation Southern Spear has restored deterrence against the narco-terrorist cartels that profited from poisoning Americans. Last month, we went a few weeks without targeting a single boat. Why? Well, because we couldn't find a whole lot of boats to sink. And that's the whole point, is to establish deterrence from narco-terrorists who have been able to traffic almost unfettered. And if the consequence was simply to be arrested and then released, well, that's a consequence they'd already priced in a long time ago. A new dynamic had to be put in motion in order for their decision cycle to change. And when adversaries are forced to move out of comfortable positions, as you know, as military men and women, they're more vulnerable when they're moving in a different direction, which is also the point. Drug overdoses that kill our citizens have dropped. Flows of fentanyl, a weapon of mass destruction, are down 56%. We will continue to destroy these threats. In January, U.S. forces raided and arrested the most dangerous house and the most dangerous compound inside the most fortified fort in the capital city of Caracas, of 2 indicted individuals, Nicolas Maduro and his wife, fugitives of the U.S. law. Operation Absolute Resolve showed the bravery of America's best, our warfighters. Nobody can do what the United States of America.
I don't know why he gave this humongous, like, history of all the recent stuff. And, I mean, all the way back into the 1800s he started on this whole thing. So he's leaning up to talk about Iran, finally. Please get to it.
Can do. It's not even close. President Trump has shown what is possible when you reject the status quo delusion that threats to our homeland and our hemisphere are somehow secondary. America is prepared to take on these threats and go on the offense alone if necessary. However, it is our preference, and it is the goal of this conference, that in the interest of this neighborhood, we all do it together with you, with our neighbors and with our allies who are eager and willing and capable. To do this, to work together, we must first acknowledge what was lost and then understand what needs to be restored. All the nations represented in this room are offsprings of Western civilization. Our nations are and always will be united by our heritage, our history, and geography in this new world. We share the same interests. And because of this, we face an essential test. whether our nations will be and remain Western nations with distinct characteristics, Christian nations under God. Proud of our shared heritage with strong borders and prosperous people ruled not by violence and chaos, but by law, order, and common sense. Or whether we are permanently torn apart by something else, led astray by competing forces, radical narco-communism and anarcho-tyranny, which threaten our people, borders, and sovereign lands in the name of a false sovereignty or a false peace. Uncontrolled mass migration, which overwhelms domestic resources intended for deserving citizens and drives unchecked crime and unchecked violence. Or the belief in so-called globalism that seeks to erase our distinct national identities in the name of tolerance, erase our borders in the name of
we'll see on the flip side, Pablo.
Passion, and erase our warrior ethos and that which makes us strong in the name of so-called diversity and political correctness. One of the dumbest phrases in military history, which used to be echoed from the former Defense Department in the previous administration, they would say it over and over and over again, was our diversity is our strength. It's the single dumbest phrase in military history. Because what is our strength is our unity. Our strength is in our shared purpose, in the training we do together, the capabilities we have to do, we can do together. In our context, the Constitution we swear an oath to defend together, the uniform we wear together. That is our strength. We reject other notions and offer a new choice. We must defend our national interest and restore our national identities. Otherwise, the outcome is the same. Our hemisphere will be poorer, more dangerous, and weaker. And this matters not because we seek to preach to you about culture wars or ideologies, or to tell you...
Well, you kind of did, but please just get to Iran.
...you how to run your countries. We're not here to tell you how to run your countries.
We're not here to tell you how to run your countries, but if you don't do what we say, we'll just blow you up, Shit.
Instead, it matters how we assess the threats facing us and the choices that we make on how to overcome them. That is what will define our destiny. President Trump understands that today's threats to border security and key terrain in our hemisphere are existential questions for our nation and for all of yours. When adversaries conduct incursions in this hemisphere off the coast of a U.S. state, Alaska, or off the coast of Greenland, or in the Gulf of America, or the Caribbean, that is a direct threat to the United States homeland and to peace in this hemisphere. When adversaries control ports or infrastructure along strategic choke points for U.S. and hemispheric trade, such as the Panama Canal, or install military facilities.
Yo, you know what? Because he's going on for so long, let's just go ahead and we got to get you guys to obey.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
I'm just saying that was better propaganda than, I'm just saying.
Facilities just miles off our shore. That is a threat to the United States homeland and peace to this hemisphere. When terrorist killers and cartels capture strategic infrastructure, resources, and entire towns or cities close to U.S. borders and U.S. shores, or profit from mass illegal migration, that is a threat to the United States homeland and a threat to all of you as well, to the Americas. The same adversaries that threaten our shared heritage threaten our shared geography as well. They seek to displace the historic North-South relationship that we've always shared with some sort of a new global South that excludes the United States and other Western nations, but includes non-Western powers and other adversaries. The answer to our challenge is not to ignore our geography in the name of global interests, but to embrace our shared geography in the name of national interests. That is why President Trump has drawn a new strategic map from Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global South. It is our immediate security perimeter in this great neighborhood that we all live in. Each one of these countries border either the North Atlantic or the North Pacific.
What up, babe?
Each one of these countries sits north of the two basic geographic barriers that exist in this region, the Amazon and the Andes Mountains. This is basic geography that we don't teach in schools as much as we should. And it restores our North-South relations, and we must get it right. In the north, the United States must enhance posture and presence in cooperation with you and our sovereign partners to defend our shared immediate security perimeter. In the south, meaning south of the equator, the other side of this great neighborhood, we will strengthen partnerships through increased burden sharing. This will enable you to take a greater role to defend the South Atlantic and the South Pacific, and to secure critical infrastructure and resources in partnership with us and other Western nations. This is what we did in World War II, just like we sunk ships with torpedoes in World War II. At the Department of War, we called it the quarter sphere defense, and we will do this again. If we're serious about our national security, and if we prioritize geography, business as usual will not stand. This means that for every country in this hemisphere, border security must be your top priority. Border security is national security. President Trump said it when he first started to run. You're not a country if you don't have borders, and he's right. President Trump sealed our border by directing the military to mobilize resources and personnel to stop invasion by cartels and other criminal actors.
Bruh, just get to Iran, please.
Bruh.
Just saying.
You can do this as well, and many of you have. This also means that you too can and must go on the offense against narco-terrorists. We've had great collaboration with many countries in recent months, and I want to thank every country in this room that has supported our access to find, fix, and finish cartel targets. We have only just begun to work with you.
We got 430 people in here. Make sure you guys double tap that screen. If you're on the vertical side, if you're on the horizontal, hit that like button. Thank you guys.
More must be done by you and by us to target narco-terrorist groups across all domains. We will dismantle narco-terrorist networks in this hemisphere, and we will deny access to the state adversaries who support them. We will correct the mistakes of the past, the mistakes of the so-called global South. I want to thank General Donovan, who has been an excellent partner and a great new leader here at Southern Command. One of the great mistakes of the past was that our leaders didn't provide the U.S. Southern Command with the support that it needed. It was a command chock full of lawyers and social workers and NGOs, law enforcement. That's changing. General, I'm directing my team to correct these historic failures, to ensure that your command has the resources and staff that you need for this robust mission ahead. It's the least we can do. I want to, absolutely, thank you. It's about time. But it's not just us at the Department of War, and it's not just Southern Command. This is across the Trump administration. This is across the Department of War as well. Stephen Miller, thank you for your support, your leadership, your clarity, understanding why this matters to each American citizen, and why the War Department is central to ensuring that it happens. It doesn't happen without President Trump, and it doesn't happen without your clarity and your leadership. I want to thank General Nordhaus as well for your support at every level. There's so many to thank. I see Corey Lewandowski here from the Department of Homeland Security. It doesn't happen without the Department of Homeland Security. Of course, Joseph Humeyer, the other part of the new bromance between him and General Donovan. Eric Garrissey, who from day one in my office, he was my first sergeant in Iraq, he's one of my senior advisors. Day one, he worked at Southcom for a long time, said, we need to be focused on the cartel threat. And he built a team to help put us in that direction, a lot of which manifests to this day. Patrick Weaver, Phil Hegseth, who I happen to know, and Ricky Berea, my chief, for doing a great job putting this together. Tony Salisbury, thank you. So many folks that every single day in Washington, I hope you know, are working hard to run as fast as you are, to stand alongside you in this mission. This is not a conference with flags so we can pat ourselves on the back. I can tell you that. If I sold that to President Trump as the objective, he'd kick me out of his office. This is an operational conference to bring our countries more closely together to achieve a shared objective, and do so aggressively. This is not a one-way street. Every partner in this region has to do more and invest more in your security as well. We, like you, want a hemisphere of sovereign, secure, and prosperous nations. We, like you, want what another great American president, Teddy Roosevelt, called the permanent peace on this hemisphere, and it will require action from all of us. You know, our schools used to teach American school children about our blessed history. Every child in grade school grew up knowing the remarkable story of this country. They knew that President James Monroe was once an orphan.
What's up, Kurt? Good morning. Hopefully you're enjoying your Thirsty Thursday morning.
At a mere
We're actually almost done. There's only a minute left.
16 years old, he had to look after his sibling.
So he's not really talking about Iran at all, by the way.
I've got an almost 16-year-old. He couldn't look after anything. It's remarkable. Well, that orphan grew to be not just one of the greatest presidents, but one of our greatest Americans. After his presidency, when his wife died and he became frail and ill with heart failure.
Yeah, that's right, Virginia Chaos. Make sure you guys hit that like button for the overtime. Listen, I appreciate that.
But he still spoke about what he called our shared cause of liberty. still talked about the toils and the perils of our war for independence. James Monroe, our 7th president, died on July 4th, the 4th of July, Independence Day, 1831, 50 years after 1776. What I like to say is, here
What's up, Kerry? Good morning.
At the Department of War, we're in the 1775 business, which is when Americans took up arms before they even declared independence. All of you are also in the 1775 business. Without the force of arms, without our militaries, we cannot keep our country safe. That's my responsibility, and it is yours. With Donald Trump in the Oval Office and with all of you here, we can still realize that long ago dream of James Monroe in our time. We will make the Americas great again. Thank you, and God bless you.
Shit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps us up for the morning. Obviously, I can't do this without you guys, so I can't thank you guys enough. And listen, we're going to be back, obviously, tomorrow morning. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, Saturday morning for members only. It's a fucking great time. So, listen, we're going to be rating, who are we rating again? I can't even remember. Chaotic Truth. Make sure you guys let them know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. And listen, we'll be back, and we'll be back and at it tomorrow morning. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless everyone.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning.